Captain John Miller stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Fleet's flagship Defiance, his eyes fixed on the main screen. The massive alien ships had appeared without warning at the edge of our solar system 3 days ago. Their dark hulls absorbed light rather than reflected it, making them look like holes cut into the fabric of space itself. "Captain, they're broadcasting again," said Lieutenant Susan Carter from her tactical station. Her voice was steady, but Miller could hear the tension underneath. "Put it through," he ordered, squaring his shoulders. The screen flickered, revealing a being with gray, leathery skin and 6 yellow eyes arranged in a circle around what Miller assumed was its head. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move. Instead, the translated words simply appeared as text beneath the creature. "Humans of Earth. This is Final Command Executor Rekthar of the Zithran Empire. Your continued resistance is both futile and irritating. We have conquered 17 star systems before yours. None have successfully opposed us. Your primitive technology and biological limitations make your defeat inevitable. Surrender now, and we will allow some of your species to survive as servants." Miller nodded to Communications Officer Greg Bennett, who cut the transmission. "Well, they seem friendly," Dr. Alan Wright remarked dryly. The xenobiologist had been assigned to the Defiance to study any alien species they might encounter. No, one had expected first contact to be quite so hostile. Commander Lisa Powell, whose background in intelligence and diplomacy had made her an obvious choice for this mission, shook her head. "This is their third demand for surrender. Each one sounds more irritated than the last." "They're getting frustrated," Miller observed. "They expected us to roll over immediately. From what we've gathered, the Zithrans operate on a strict hierarchy," Powell explained. "They assume all species function the same way. In their mind, if you demonstrate superior firepower, the lesser species should automatically submit, Doctor." Wright nodded in agreement. "Their biology suggests a hive-like evolutionary path. Individual Zithrans aren't used to creatures that think independently." Miller turned to Lieutenant Carter. "Susan, what's your assessment of their military capabilities?" Carter pulled up a tactical display. "Their technology is definitely advanced. Energy weapons, powerful shields, faster-than-light capabilities beyond what we have. But there's something odd about their attack patterns." She highlighted several recordings from previous skirmishes. "They're predictable, almost textbook. It's like they've never had to adapt their tactics." Miller studied the patterns. Carter had an exceptional eye for combat strategy. If she saw a weakness, it was worth exploring. "Captain," the communications officer interrupted. "We're receiving a message from General Ross at Earth Command." The grizzled face of General Ross appeared on screen. "Captain Miller, the Security Council has made a decision. Diplomatic attempts have failed. The Zithrans have made it clear they view us as nothing more than primitive mammals unworthy of consideration. They've rejected all attempts at negotiation." Miller nodded grimly. "What are our orders, sir?" "You're to take your battle group and establish a defensive perimeter at the edge of the asteroid belt. We need time to evacuate coastal cities in case they break through. Your primary mission is to delay them and gather intelligence on their capabilities." "Understood, sir. We'll do our best." After the transmission ended, Miller turned to his crew. "You heard the general. Let's move out." 6 hours later, the Defiance led a group of 5 Earth ships toward the asteroid belt. The small fleet represented the best Earth had to offer, but Miller knew it wouldn't be enough if the Zithrans committed their full force. "Zithran vessels detected," Lieutenant Carter announced. 3 scout ships on an intercept course." "Just scouts?" Miller asked. "Interesting. They're still testing us. Or they don't consider us worthy of more attention," Powell suggested. "Either way, it's an opportunity," Miller said. "Lieutenant Carter, what do you recommend?" Carter studied her tactical display. "The asteroids, sir. Their ships are faster and more powerful, but they seem to fly in straight, predictable patterns. I think we can use the irregular gravity fields and debris to our advantage." Miller smiled for the first time in days. "Make it happen, Lieutenant. You have tactical command for this engagement." Carter's plan was bold. She positioned the Earth ships in a scattered formation among the larger asteroids, using the natural cover to mask their energy signatures. When the Zithran scouts approached, she waited until they committed to their attack run. "Now," she ordered. The Earth ships emerged from different directions simultaneously, catching the Zithran scouts in a crossfire. The aliens reacted with obvious surprise, their formations breaking as they tried to adjust to the unexpected attack. "They're confused," Wright observed, watching the enemy movements. "Look how long it's taking them to respond. It's like they've never encountered this situation before." Carter seized the advantage. "Concentrate fire on the lead vessel." The combined firepower of the Earth ships overwhelmed the lead scout's shields. The alien vessel exploded in a brilliant flash of blue energy. The remaining two scouts attempted to regroup, but Carter had anticipated their move. She had positioned the Earth ships to cut off their retreat path. Within minutes, a second Zithran ship was heavily damaged and drifting. "The third scout is retreating," Carter reported, unable to keep the satisfaction from her voice. A cheer went up from the crew, but Miller raised his hand for quiet. "Don't celebrate yet. We've won a skirmish, not the war. And now they know we can fight." Dr. Wright approached Miller, excitement evident in his expression. "Captain, the damaged Zithran ship. If we could capture it, the scientific value would be immeasurable." Miller considered this. "Commander Powell, your assessment?" "It's risky," Powell admitted. "But the intelligence gain could be decisive. Lieutenant Carter, can you get a boarding team over there safely?" Carter nodded. "Yes, sir, their weapons appear to be offline." "Make it happen," Miller ordered, "but be ready to pull out at the first sign of trouble." 2 hours later, Dr. Wright stood in the Defiance's laboratory, examining tissue samples and technology recovered from the Zithran scout ship. Commander Powell and Captain Miller watched as he worked. "This is fascinating," Wright said. "Their neural structure is highly developed but remarkably rigid. They process information quickly, but they seem to lack adaptability. Their technology reflects this same pattern, incredibly advanced but designed for specific circumstances." Powell leaned closer to examine a Zithran communication device. "What about their psychology? Can we use this against them?" "Absolutely," Wright replied. "They appear to have evolved from a hive-like species. Individual thinking isn't their strong suit. They expect enemies to behave according to established patterns. When we don't, it genuinely confuses them." Miller's communicator beeped. "Captain, long-range sensors are detecting multiple Zithran ships entering the system. It looks like they're preparing a full-scale attack." "They're not taking us lightly anymore," Miller said. "Get me Earth Command." As he waited for the connection, Miller looked at the samples from the alien ship. Earth had won its first battle against the Zithrans, but the real war was just beginning. The aliens had technology and numbers on their side, but humans had something they didn't expect: adaptability. Maybe, Miller thought as the connection to Earth Command was established, they chose the wrong species to fight after all. The United Nations Emergency Council chamber was packed with world leaders. The massive screens on the wall showed satellite images of the growing Zithran fleet near Mars. General Peter Gonzalez stood at the podium, his voice grave as he addressed the assembly. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face the greatest threat in human history. The Zithrans have amassed over 200 vessels, and our best estimates suggest they will launch a full-scale attack within 72 hours. Murmurs filled the room. A representative from Brazil stood up. "How can we possibly fight such a force? Their technology is far beyond ours." "By working together," General Gonzalez replied firmly. "For the first time in history, all nations must unite under a single military command structure. Our only chance is to pool our resources and knowledge." The Secretary General nodded. "The resolution before you proposes exactly that. A unified Earth Defense Command with General Gonzalez as its head. The vote stands at 87 in favor, 12 opposed. We need unanimous consent." One by one, the remaining hands rose in agreement. Earth would stand together or fall together. In a sprawling underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Diana Hayes wiped sweat from her forehead as she examined the alien weapon recovered from the damaged Zithran ship. Around her, dozens of engineers worked frantically on various projects. "I think I've got it," she said, more to herself than anyone else. She connected a cable from the weapon to her computer and ran another test. The screen filled with data. "Doctor," Wright looked over her shoulder. "What have you found?" "Their weapons operate on a completely different principle than ours," Diana explained. "They use some kind of focused radiation that our shields can't block. But," she pointed to a section of code, "their targeting systems are programmed to track predictable movement patterns. If we modify our ships to make random course corrections every few seconds, they'd have trouble hitting us." Dr. Wright finished her thought. "Brilliant." Diana shook her head. "It's not enough. We need to adapt our own weapons, too." A voice came from behind them. "Maybe I can help with that." They turned to see Kyle Martinez, a fighter pilot with a reputation for natural talent. His flight suit was wrinkled, suggesting he'd come straight from training. "I've been running simulations against their attack patterns," Kyle explained. "Their ships always maintain perfect formations. Too perfect. They don't adapt to individual threats the way human pilots do." Diana's eyes lit up. "So if we could disrupt their formations—" "Exactly," Kyle said. "In the simulator, when I fly erratically and break their formation, their response time drops significantly. It's like they don't know what to do when their perfect plans get messed up." Dr. Wright nodded excitedly. "This confirms what we've learned about their psychology. Dr. Emma Scott's team has been analyzing their communication patterns. The Zithrans have a rigid hierarchy and struggle with independent decision-making." Diana returned to her workstation. "Give me 24 hours. I think I can modify our weapon systems based on this information." On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Miller studied the tactical display showing Earth's defensive positions. His ship had been recalled to join the main defense fleet in Earth orbit. "It's not enough," he said quietly to Commander Powell. "Even with every ship we have, we're outnumbered 5-1. Powell nodded. "But we have some advantages they don't expect." Miller's communication panel beeped. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command." General Gonzalez's face appeared on screen. "Captain Miller, we're implementing a new strategy. Your ship will be equipped with Diana Hayes's modified weapon systems first. You'll lead a special strike team." "What's the mission, sir?" "A trap," Gonzalez replied with a grim smile. "We're going to use Earth's supposed weaknesses as strengths." 3 days later, the massive Zithran fleet entered Earth's orbit. Their ships formed a perfect half-sphere above the planet, blocking out stars across half the night sky. In cities around the world, people looked up in fear. News broadcasts showed the alien armada, its size making Earth's defenses look pitiful in comparison. The Zithran transmission was broadcast globally. "Humans of Earth, your feeble resistance has been noted. It is illogical and wasteful. Your defeat is mathematically certain. We grant you 12 Earth hours to surrender your governing bodies. After this time, we will begin systematic destruction of your military capabilities." In the Earth Defense Command Center, General Gonzalez turned to his staff. "They've taken the bait. They think we're desperate and disorganized." Dr. Emma Scott, the psychologist analyzing Zithran behavior patterns, nodded. "They see our diversity as weakness. Their hive mentality can't understand how a species with different nations, languages, and cultures could mount an effective defense." "That's exactly what we'll use against them," Gonzalez said. He activated the communication system. "All units, prepare to execute Operation Hornet's Nest." In orbit, the Earth fleet appeared to be in disarray. Ships moved in seemingly random patterns, some appearing to flee while others took defensive positions. On the Zithran command ship, Final Command Executor Vrekthar observed with disdain. "Their formation is chaotic. They have no unified strategy. Begin the attack sequence." The Zithran fleet moved forward with precision, targeting Earth's largest military installations first. Their weapons fired in perfect synchronization. But something unexpected happened. The Earth ships, instead of being easy targets, moved in unpredictable patterns. Diana Hayes's modifications allowed them to absorb some hits while their erratic movements made many Zithran shots miss completely. Kyle Martinez led a squadron of fighters that darted between the larger alien vessels, their unorthodox tactics, confusing the Zithran pilots. While individually less powerful, the human fighters worked in flexible teams, adapting their approach on the fly. "What is happening?" Rekthar demanded as reports of failures came in. "They are not following standard defensive protocols," his tactical officer responded. "They appear to be using some form of chaotic defense strategy. Our targeting systems cannot predict their movements." "Impossible. No species fights without proper formation." Meanwhile, Captain Miller's Defiance led a small group of ships equipped with Diana's modified weapons directly toward the Zithran command ships. Their shields absorbed the initial barrage, allowing them to get close enough to fire. "Now," Miller ordered. The new weapons fired, not at the Zithran ships' main systems, but at their communication arrays. Based on Dr. Wright and Dr. Scott's research, these were the weak points in the Zithran command structure. Several Zithran ships suddenly stopped firing, their formations faltering as their communication with the central command was disrupted. "It's working," Commander Powell said, watching the tactical display. "Their coordinated attack is breaking down." But the celebration was short-lived. The majority of the Zithran fleet remained operational, and their superior firepower was taking a toll. 3 Earth ships exploded as concentrated Zithran fire overwhelmed their defenses. "We need more time," Miller said. "Lieutenant Carter, prepare for Phase 2. Carter nodded and began sending coded signals to the scattered Earth fleet. Suddenly, every Earth ship activated emergency thrusters, seemingly in retreat. The Zithran fleet pressed forward, eager to claim victory. "They're pursuing as expected," Carter reported, heading straight for the orbital defense platforms. Miller smiled grimly. Just as Admiral Nelson predicted, the Zithrans, believing they had won, the space battle moved toward Earth's orbital defense platforms, which appeared to be abandoned. "Contact Earth Command," Miller ordered. "Tell them the Fox is in the henhouse." From his command center, General Gonzalez gave the order. "Admiral Nelson, you have a green light." The apparently abandoned orbital platform suddenly powered up, revealing weapon systems that had been hidden from Zithran scans. As the alien fleet passed within range, focusing on the planet below, the platforms opened fire from behind. The Zithrans, caught by surprise and with their rear defenses down, suffered immediate losses. "They expected us to think like them," Miller said, watching the battle unfold. "But humans have been fighting each other and adapting to overcome stronger enemies for thousands of years. We don't surrender just because the odds are against us." The battle for Earth had truly begun, and for the first time the Zithrans faced an enemy that didn't play by their rules. Admiral Frank Nelson watched from his command center as the orbital defense platforms tore into the surprised Zithran fleet. His gamble had paid off, but he knew it wouldn't last long. "Status report," he demanded. "Platforms 3 through 7 reporting. Direct hits on multiple Zithran vessels," his tactical officer responded. "We've destroyed 14 enemy ships and damaged at least 20 more." Nelson nodded. "And our losses?" 2 platforms destroyed, sir. 3 more reporting heavy damage." It was a better exchange than expected, but Nelson knew the Zithrans would quickly adapt. He opened a channel to Earth Command. "General Gonzalez, Phase 1 successful. Requesting permission to proceed with Phase 2. "Granted, Admiral. Good hunting." Nelson turned to his crew. "Activate all remaining platforms. Full offensive pattern. Let's buy Earth as much time as possible." On the main screen, the remaining orbital platforms lit up, unleashing everything they had against the Zithran fleet. It was a sacrificial move. The platforms couldn't be moved and would eventually be destroyed, but they were causing significant damage to the invaders. The Zithrans, recovering from their initial surprise, began targeting the platforms systematically. One by one, the human defenses exploded in brilliant flashes of light. On Earth's surface, Sergeant Maria Rodriguez led her unit through the ruins of what had once been a coastal city. The Zithrans had begun bombarding major population centers, but thanks to the early evacuation, civilian casualties were minimal. "Keep your heads down," she told her soldiers as they moved between destroyed buildings. Zithran dropships reported in this sector. Her second-in-command, Private Lee, checked the tactical display on his wrist. 5 dropships landed 2 miles east. Looks like they're establishing a forward base. Rodriguez nodded. Just as command predicted. They're following standard invasion procedures. Her unit had been training for this moment for weeks ever since the first Zithran ships appeared. They weren't meant to engage the aliens directly. That would be suicide. Instead, they were to observe, report, and when possible, disrupt the Zithran ground operations through guerrilla tactics. Movement ahead, whispered Private Lee. 200 yards. Rodriguez used her enhanced binoculars to scan the area. A group of Zithran soldiers moved in perfect formation down what remained of Main Street. They walked in pairs, their leathery skin reflecting the morning sun. They're not even trying to take cover, she noted with surprise. Makes sense, Lee replied. According to the briefing, they've never encountered significant resistance on the ground before. They're used to species surrendering after losing the space battle. Rodriguez smiled grimly. Let's show them humans are different. She activated her communication device. All units, prepare for Operation Mosquito. Across the ruined city, small teams of human soldiers moved into position. None were directly visible to the Zithrans, all using the debris and destroyed buildings as cover. Rodriguez waited until the alien patrol had moved into the center of the ambush zone. Now, she whispered into her communicator. Simultaneously, dozens of small drones launched from hidden positions around the Zithrans. The drones weren't armed with powerful weapons. They didn't need to be. Each carried a small electromagnetic pulse generator designed by Diana Hayes. The Zithran patrol stopped in confusion as the drones surrounded them. Before they could react, the drones detonated their EMP charges. The alien weapons and communication devices sparked and went dead. Move in, Rodriguez ordered. Her soldiers emerged from their hiding places, weapons trained on the now disoriented Zithrans. Without their technology and cut off from their command structure, the aliens seemed unsure how to respond. Surrender or die, Rodriguez called out in clear, simple terms that the Zithran translation devices might understand. To her surprise, the aliens looked at each other in confusion. Finally, one stepped forward and laid down its weapon. The others quickly followed suit. I'll be damned, Lee whispered. They really don't know how to function without orders. Rodriguez nodded. Get them secured and call for transport. Earth Command will want to question them. As her team rounded up the prisoners, Rodriguez couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. The Zithrans might have better technology, but humans had something they clearly lacked: the ability to think and act independently. Aboard a captured Zithran scout ship, William Harris worked frantically to understand the alien computer systems. As a civilian scientist, he had volunteered for this dangerous mission because of his expertise in computer encryption. Anything yet? Chief Engineer Paul Jackson asked, keeping watch at the door. Almost there, Harris replied, his fingers flying over the strange interface. Their security is advanced but rigid. It doesn't adapt to intrusion attempts the way our systems do. After several more minutes, the screen in front of him changed, displaying Zithran text that his translator converted to English. I'm in, he said with quiet satisfaction. Jackson moved to look over his shoulder. What are we looking at? Their battle plans, I think, and... Harris's eyes widened. Oh no. What is it? According to this, they're bringing in something called a cleansing ship. It's designed to alter planetary atmospheres. Jackson's face paled. They're planning to make Earth uninhabitable. Harris nodded grimly. We need to get this information back to Earth Command immediately. Can you download it? Better than that, Harris said, still working. Their ships all connect to a central command network. If I can plant false information, Jackson understood immediately. You could disrupt their entire operation. Exactly. Harris continued typing. The Zithrans rely on perfect information and precise orders. Let's see how they handle confusion in their ranks. In Earth's orbit, Captain Miller's Defiance rejoined the space battle. The modified weapons had proven effective, but the Zithrans still had overwhelming numbers. Captain, Lieutenant Carter called out. We're receiving a transmission from a Zithran frequency, but it's using our encryption. Miller frowned. Put it through. William Harris's face appeared on screen. Captain Miller, I've infiltrated their network. They're bringing in a weapon to poison our atmosphere, but I've managed to plant conflicting orders in their system. Good work, Miller replied. What kind of confusion can we expect? I've redirected half their fleet to defend against an attack coming from Neptune, an attack that doesn't exist. They should start moving within the hour. Miller turned to Commander Powell. Contact Earth Command. We need to coordinate our next move. Powell nodded, but before she could speak, the ship rocked violently. Direct hit to our port side, Carter reported. Shields down to 40%. Return fire, Miller ordered calmly. Target their weapon systems. The Defiance's modified weapons fired, cutting through the Zithran ship's defenses. Enemy vessel disabled, Carter announced. Miller studied the tactical display. The battle was far from over, but for the first time he could see a path to victory. The Zithrans were powerful but predictable. Humans were adaptable, resourceful, and most importantly, refused to surrender. Sir, Carter said suddenly, long-range sensors are detecting a new Zithran vessel entering the system. It's massive. Miller watched as the largest alien ship yet appeared on their sensors. He knew instinctively that this was the cleansing ship Harris had warned about. All hands, battle stations, he ordered. And get me Earth Command. It's time for Phase 3. As the crew rushed to their positions, Miller allowed himself a grim smile. The Zithrans had brought their ultimate weapon, thinking it would end the fight. Instead, they had just given humans a single target to focus on. They really did choose the wrong species to fight, he murmured. Colonel Ben Taylor crouched behind a fallen concrete pillar, watching the massive Zithran ground transport through his tactical visor. Around him, 20 of Earth's best Special Forces soldiers waited silently for his signal. Target confirmed, whispered his second-in-command. That's their regional command center. Taylor nodded. Intelligence from captured Zithrans had revealed that the aliens established these centers to coordinate their ground forces. Each one was connected directly to their fleet in orbit. Remember, Taylor told his team, we need their communication hub intact. Dr. Ward needs those biological samples, and Lieutenant Commander Clark needs access to their network. The soldiers acknowledged with slight nods. They had trained for weeks for this mission, studying Zithran patterns and behaviors. Team 1, create the diversion, Taylor ordered. Everyone else wait for my mark. 3 soldiers moved silently through the ruins, placing small explosive devices around the perimeter of the Zithran base. When they were safely back in position, Taylor gave the signal. The explosions weren't large, but they created enough noise and light to draw the Zithran guards' attention. As expected, they responded in perfect formation, moving as a unit toward the disturbance. Now, Taylor said quietly. His team moved swiftly across the open ground, reaching the command center's rear entrance before any alarms could sound. The door was locked with alien technology, but they had come prepared. One soldier attached a device created by Diana Hayes to the control panel. 5 seconds later, the door slid open. Inside, the Zithrans were completely unprepared for a rear assault. Taylor's team moved methodically through the building, using non-lethal sonic weapons to incapacitate the aliens rather than kill them. Central. Chamber ahead, reported one of his scouts. 6 Zithrans appears to be their command staff. Taylor made a series of hand signals and his team took positions around the doorway. After a 3 count, they burst into the room, sonic weapons firing. The Zithran commanders dropped to the floor, their sensitive hearing overwhelmed by the device's output. Within minutes, Taylor's team had secured the entire facility. Command. This is Taylor, he reported. Objective secured. Send in the science team. Dr. Olivia Ward arrived at the captured command center 30 minutes later. As Earth's leading expert on alien biology, she had been studying Zithran physiology since the first specimens became available. I need access to their medical bay immediately, she told Colonel Taylor. Taylor nodded to one of his soldiers, who led the doctor through the facility. The Zithran medical bay was unlike anything human doctors would recognize, filled with strange equipment and containers of colored liquids. Ward moved quickly to the central console. "This is perfect," she murmured, activating her translator device. "Their biological database should be accessible from here." As she worked, Lieutenant Commander Joseph Clark entered the room. His expertise in communications had made him invaluable in decoding Zithran transmissions. "Any luck?" he asked. Ward nodded excitedly. "More than I expected. The Zithrans keep detailed physiological records of their troops. And look at this." She pointed to a section of data. "They're all suffering from the same cellular degradation in their respiratory systems." Clark looked confused. "What does that mean?" "Earth's atmosphere is more oxygen-rich than what they're accustomed to. Extended exposure is causing damage to their lung equivalents." She continued studying the data. "That's why they need the cleansing ship. Not just to defeat us, but because they physically can't adapt to our environment long-term." Clark's eyes widened with understanding. "So, they're on a timetable. They need to either win quickly or change our atmosphere to match their needs." "Exactly," Ward confirmed. "And that gives us an advantage." While they spoke, Clark connected his equipment to the Zithran communication system. "If I can tap into their fleet communications, we might be able to intercept orders from their high command." "Better hurry," Taylor said from the doorway. "Our scouts report Zithran reinforcements approaching. We have maybe 20 minutes before they realize something's wrong." Clark worked frantically, his fingers flying over the equipment. "Almost there. Got it." He looked up with excitement. "I'm in their command network and I've broken their encryption." "What are they saying?" Taylor asked. "The cleansing ship is preparing to deploy its atmospheric converters. Once activated, they'll begin altering Earth's air composition within hours." Clark continued monitoring the transmissions. "But there's something else. Internal disagreement in their command structure." "Disagreement?" Ward asked. "That doesn't fit with what we know about their psychology." Clark nodded. "It seems William Harris's data manipulation is causing confusion. Some commanders are following the false orders to defend against the non-existent attack from Neptune, while others are questioning why resources are being diverted." Taylor smiled grimly. "Chaos in a rigid command structure. That's exactly what we need." From a secure bunker beneath what remained of Washington, D.C., Andrea Morris coordinated the global resistance effort. As one of the few surviving political leaders, she had been chosen to represent Earth's unified government. "The Special Forces team has secured the Seattle Command Center," her assistant reported. "That makes 3 regional headquarters under our control." Morris nodded. "And the cleansing ship?" "Still in high orbit, preparing to deploy. Captain Miller's fleet is engaging, but they're heavily outnumbered." Morris studied the global map showing Zithran positions. The aliens controlled much of Earth's orbital space and had established ground bases on every continent. But resistance was growing stronger by the day, as humans refused to surrender. "Connect me to all resistance channels," she ordered. "It's time." When the connection was established, Morris stood before the camera. Her message would reach fighters around the world, from organized military units to civilian resistance cells. "People of Earth," she began, her voice steady. "Today we launch our coordinated counterattack. For weeks we have studied our enemy. We have learned their weaknesses, their habits, their rigid thinking. The Zithrans believed they could conquer us easily, because they have conquered 17 other worlds before us. But those worlds weren't Earth. Those species weren't human." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Humanity has faced extinction many times throughout our history. Each time we have adapted and survived. Each time we have emerged stronger. The Zithrans don't understand this because they have never had to adapt. Today we show them what happens when you threaten our home." Morris looked directly into the camera. "Operation Phoenix begins now. To all resistance cells, execute your objectives according to plan. To our brave fighters in space, hold the line. And to the Zithrans who may intercept this message, you chose the wrong species to fight." In orbit, Captain Miller watched as Lieutenant Susan Carter implemented a bold new strategy. Based on what they had learned about Zithran psychology and combat tactics, she had developed a plan to capture one of their motherships. "All ships in position," Carter reported. "Begin the operation," Miller ordered. 3 human ships, including the Defiance, suddenly broke from the main battle, heading directly toward one of the larger Zithran vessels. To any observer, it would appear to be a suicide run. The Zithrans responded exactly as Carter had predicted, focusing their fire on the approaching ships. What they didn't notice was a small stealth vessel approaching from below, carrying a boarding team led by Commander Powell. "They're distracted," Carter said. "Boarding team is clear to proceed." Miller nodded. "Keep their attention on us. Commander Powell needs every second we can give her." The Defiance rocked as Zithran weapons found their mark. Their shields were failing, but Miller held course. Everything depended on Powell's team reaching the Zithran mothership. "Boarding team has breached the hull," Carter announced. "They're in." Miller allowed himself a small smile. If Powell's team could capture the mothership, they would gain valuable intelligence and possibly a way to approach the cleansing ship. For the first time since the invasion began, Miller felt real hope. The Zithrans had superior technology and numbers, but humans had something they clearly lacked: creativity in the face of impossible odds. Sometimes, he thought, being the underdog is an advantage. Supreme Commander Ethan Brooks stood in Earth's unified command center, surrounded by screens showing battles across the planet and in orbit. After weeks of fighting, humanity had reached a critical moment. "The cleansing ship has moved into position," reported his tactical officer. "They're preparing to release atmospheric converters." Brooks nodded grimly. "And Dr. Cooper's device?" "Ready for deployment, sir." Dr. Ryan Cooper had worked day and night to develop technology that could disrupt the Zithran hive communication. Based on data from captured ships and prisoners, he had created a device that could break their psychic link. "Captain Miller's strike team?" Brooks asked. "In position. They're ready to board the cleansing ship." Brooks took a deep breath. "Give the order. Operation Final Stand begins now." Captain Miller led his team through the damaged section of the cleansing ship's hull. Commander Powell's earlier mission had given them the access codes needed to board the massive vessel. Lieutenant Carter moved beside him, weapon ready. "Main control chamber should be 2 levels up," she whispered, checking the ship's layout on her wrist display. Miller nodded. "We have 15 minutes before they detect us. Move fast. Stay quiet." The team moved through the alien corridors, avoiding Zithran patrols when possible and silently neutralizing them when necessary. The ship was unlike anything they had seen before, built on a scale that made humans seem tiny. "Here," Carter said, pointing to a large doorway. "Control room." Miller signaled his team to take positions. "Remember, we need to hold this room for 2 minutes while Dr. Cooper's device activates." Carter nodded. "Ready when you are." "Now," Miller ordered. They burst into the control room, overwhelming the surprised Zithran operators before they could sound an alarm. Miller quickly attached the device to the main console. "Activation sequence initiated," he reported. 90 seconds remaining. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. "They've detected us," Carter warned. "Defensive positions," Miller ordered. "We just need to hold a little longer." The doors to the control room burst open and Zithran soldiers poured in. Miller's team fought desperately, holding them back as the seconds ticked down. Carter took a hit to her shoulder, but continued firing. 30 seconds left," she called out. Miller saw more Zithrans approaching. They wouldn't make it. "Carter, you need to complete the mission," he said. "I'll hold them off." "Captain." "That's an order, Lieutenant." Carter hesitated, then nodded. She moved to protect the device while Miller positioned himself in the doorway, drawing the enemy's fire. 15 seconds, Carter called. Miller felt pain as Zithran weapons found their mark, but he held his position. This was bigger than one life. 5 seconds. Activation complete. The device hummed, then released a pulse that spread throughout the ship. Immediately, the attacking Zithrans froze, confusion visible in their movements. The psychic link that connected them to their commanders had been severed. In orbit around Earth, every Zithran ship suddenly lost coordination. Without the hive mind guiding them, individual Zithrans were forced to make their own decisions for the first time. On Earth's surface, Zithran ground forces stopped their advances, many laying down weapons in confusion. In the command center, Brooks watched as the alien fleet fell into disarray. "Contact the Zithran flagship," he ordered. "Tell them we're sending a representative to discuss terms." Laura Mitchell, Earth's chief diplomat, stepped forward. "I'm ready, sir." 3 days later, the remaining Zithran commanders stood before Mitchell on their flagship. Without their hive connection, they were struggling to maintain control of their forces. "Here are our terms," Mitchell said firmly. "You will withdraw all forces from Earth immediately. You will return to your empire and spread this message. Earth is not to be attacked again." The Zithran leader spoke, its voice translated by machines. "Why should we agree to this defeat?" Mitchell's gaze was steady. "Because you chose the wrong species to fight. Humans don't surrender when things look impossible. We adapt. We overcome. Even if you destroy us today, the survivors will continue, fighting until none of you remain." The Zithrans conferred among themselves briefly, then turned back to Mitchell. "We accept your terms." As Mitchell walked away, she allowed herself a small smile. Earth had not only survived, but had taught the galaxy a valuable lesson. Never underestimate a species that thrives on adversity.